Vikings played the Bills in Buffalo. I was at that game. I believe I was like 10 years old. The Vikings won, but a certain quarterback had to play punter for the Vikings, and he won NFC Special Teams Player of the Week for his work. Do you know who the quarterback was who did that?
1997 Vikings, you said, right?
Yep.
I don't even know who the starter was on that team. Was that
I think it was still Brad
Brad
Johnson.
Johnson?
I think so.
Well, it wasn't Brad Johnson, definitely. Was it Randall Cunningham? Did he punt?
It was. It was
Wow.
Randall Cunningham. Yeah,
I just assumed like super athlete.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if Cunningham had, signed with I always get confused whether he showed up in 97 or 98. It was 97 because he led that crazy comeback against the Jets. Yeah. Or the Giants, sorry. But
yep. Yeah, he did. He did that. Yeah. I just that always sticks out to me. I think Robert Smith had like a couple touchdowns that day too. But yeah, I think that was the first Vikings game I ever saw. 1997. In Buffalo. It was opening day, so it wasn't like in the snow. So it was actually kind of decent weather. But yes, the Vikings and Bills are playing this weekend. Matchup between the 7-1 Vikings against the 6-2 Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. The big news right now is that Bills quarterback Josh Allen is day-to-day with an elbow injury. He suffered an elbow injury late in the game against their loss to the Jets last week. Then he proceeded to throw the ball like 70 yards. So who knows how severe it is, but it could have gotten worse since then. But he's day-to-day. He didn't practice on Wednesday. And to me, it sounds like the Bills are doing like the old, we're not going to let you know that he's not playing until he's out. Because they can do that. And so now the Vikings have to prepare for Josh Allen and Case Keenum. But
secret squirrel.
Yeah, do you're prep? I've seen this going around. Some people are like having this argument, but do you want Josh Allen to play on Sunday versus the Vikings? Because do you want them to, if they beat the Bills, do you want them to beat the Bills at their best?
I don't care. I really don't. I mean, Philadelphia's got a super soft schedule. The Vikings, we always talk about, are they legit or whatever? Yeah. Like they are what they are. Like this team's not going to magically change at this point of the season. They're a team that is very opportunistic. They're going to win in the margins, as Kevin O'Connell says. And it does not matter if Josh Allen or Case Keenum is the quarterback. Now, it will be more difficult to beat the Bills if Josh Allen is playing, even with a torn UCL, which, by the way, I really hope the Twins doctors are evaluating him because that would be great news for the Vikings. No, it'll be fine. Yeah, you'll be okay. Disabled list in like a week. But
I guess the old Vikings doctors, I guess.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I look at it from a standpoint, I just want the win right now. And I know some people might see it as cheap, but what do you have to prove? Are you just trying to like impress the national pundits? Because they're not going to jump on this bandwagon. The people that are on the bandwagon now are the people that are going to be on the bandwagon later. And the people that are on the Eagles bandwagon now aren't going to be jumped off, even if they go ahead and like lose to, I don't know, the Giants or something. Everybody is so preoccupied with everybody else. And like, I'm a little frustrated, honestly, with all the media coverage a little bit. They don't matter. Like one of them's coaching the Colts now, one of the talking heads. So, whatever. Can we talk about that though, quick? Like, what the hell is that? Yeah, it's just like Jim Irsay's up at the podium and he's just like, we don't need coaches with these newfangled analytics and like all this crap and whatever. He sounded like old man yells at cloud.
Yeah.
He might hire Mike Zimmer if this Jeff Saturday thing doesn't work.
Oh, I think Jim Harbaugh is on a fast track to the Colts. I think he's
100%. I could see that.
Former Colts quarterback. I could see that. 1,000%. They're tanking.
The sidetrack, but I mean, I just had to.
They're tanking. They're tanking.
Oh, 100%. This is worse than what the Texans did when they wanted to hire Josh McCown.
Yeah.
Like 100% worse. Like, they talk about Rooney Rule and all that stuff. They did not talk to a black coach or
They don't
coordinator
have
or any of
you don't
that.
have to with the interim coach, which I think this is why they did that, because they're like, well, if he does well, then we already know that he's going to be our guy, and we can pretend to interview other people.
So
But
they'll just do a token interview, which is what this rule is supposed to eliminate.
yeah, um, I think I heard that Jeff Saturday was like, when he got the phone call from Ursay, he was like, why are you hiring me? So that's
That's a great
great.
sign. Yeah.
That's a great start. And then I'm just wondering, like, because there's former head coaches on the Colts staff right now with Gus Bradley and John Fox, and there's all these other guys on the staff that are gonna now have to listen to an ESPN analyst as their coach. I understand he's a former player. Everyone talks about how Reggie Wayne or whatever should have been the coach, but like they used to be teammates, Saturday and Reggie Wayne, so they're familiar with each other. But it's just, yeah, it's odd. It's an Ursay thing. It's apparently Ursay's been kind of had his fingerprints on a lot of stuff with the Colts recently, with like Carson Wentz being gone. He called for Matt Ryan to be benched. Um, so he's not really on doing too well recently, and that's kind of how I guess his dad was back in the day. He'd like go down on the field and tell the head coach to take the quarterback out of the game back in the day, and then fire the head coach afterwards if he didn't. So
And I
yeah,
don't think Frank Reich was doing a good job there to begin with. I mean, there were a
no, but
lot
they
of
didn't have.
weird decisions, but
I don't think they had to fire him now, unless they're just like,
no,
we need to make sure we get like a top 3 pick.
right.
This is a great way to do it. But
It's
yeah,
also
like,
a great way to entice Jim Harbaugh. Just like, hey, we
oh
have
yeah,
a
we got
top
the number
3
one.
pick.
Yeah, we got the number 1 pick. You can come over here. We got Jonathan Taylor. Like, they got some pieces. But yeah, it's just, I feel bad for that fan base. Because like they're probably all like, "What's going on?" And then they had the press conference like in the middle of Monday Night Football. So it's a very weird situation. It reminds me. It feels like a Red McCombs era kind of Vikings
Yeah,
decision,
yeah.
which don't want anything to do with
It
anymore.
re- it reminds me of like college schools where like the coach will take like the example that I had, Brett Bielema once got up and left and went to Arkansas. Like he was
Mhm.
at Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's like, well, we need a coach for one game. Barry Alvarez.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
he did it for a long time. He is going to coach the Rose Bowl for us, and then we're going to hire what was the guy's name? I don't think it was Gary Anderson. Something Anderson from Oregon State. Or no, he was from Utah State, and he lasted 1 year at Wisconsin, and he
a
left and they
year.
hired Paul Chris. But
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. But back to
I
Josh
don't think.
Allen.
Yeah,
Um,
sorry.
no, that's fine. I don't mind talking about that at all. It's a ridiculous thing going
It's
on.
bonkers.
Well, one last thing. Who? Not that who would be the best, but like, I don't know who. Maybe who would be the best? Who would be like the best random Vikings player to get a coaching gig? I think I threw this out on Twitter the other day. And I could think of like Chad Greenway or like Sam Bradford or Antoine Winfield. Like, those are some names that come to mind. Like, if this was the Vikings doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go full chaos though, like the Colts did, I mean, get Randy Moss in there, give me John Randall. You don't think he could hype up? I would love to see John Randall's like
Oh,
pregame speech.
John
Just
Randall
like
would be great.
John Randall putting on the eye black, like standing there as a head coach, just
He
like,
definitely have it.
all right, screw this, I'm going in the game.
He definitely have his shirt off for sure. Wouldn't be wearing a shirt. I think I saw Luke Brown the other day was
Oh,
like, I was thinking of like trying to think of a mid-2000s Viking center who could be the coach, and then I was like, oh yeah, then I remembered who it
oh.
was, and I'm not gonna talk about it. So back to Josh
Oh,
Allen. Yeah, I don't care if you play either. Like you said, like they don't get extra points or anything if they beat the Bills with Josh Allen. They're trying to keep pace with the Eagles to have some sort of shot at that number 1 seed in the NFC, because it's still within reach. So if they get this win, then they get to 8-1, and they're still They still have a great chance to get that number one seed. So everyone's like, oh, like the Vikings are putting all these backups, and it's like, okay, so does every other team. Like injuries happen in football, and this is how it goes. You play backups, you play backups in both, So and every season, some of the teams at the top get the lucky breaks. Like you got to take advantage of those, and sometimes in the past the Vikings haven't. So this is an opportunity to do that. And at the same time, if Josh Allen's out, the Bills are still a very good team, at least defensively. So it's not like it's just going to be a cakewalk if Josh Allen isn't playing. So I don't have a preference if he. I would rather see him not play because I think it gives the Vikings a better chance, but I don't know.
This is not college football where you win a whole bunch of games and then this committee sits down, they reseed you. Like the Vikings are gonna get the 7 seed all of a sudden.
Yeah.
No, like win the games, keep pace with Philly because Philly's strength of schedule is just as good as the Vikings. They're 14th. The Vikings, I believe, are 12th. I think the Cowboys are 11th and the Giants are 4th. But even like teams that people are just kind of hopping on the bandwagon, like San Francisco, their strength of schedule is 28th.
Yeah.
They haven't played anybody and they're still 4-4.
Yeah.
And their head coach is like a kid on Christmas that gets the big toys and then just wants to play with the box. Like I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't understand the hype about the Niners because everyone's like they got Christian McCaffrey, and I'm like, yeah, but everyone gets hurt every year for them, so I'm not really going to worry about it. And Christian
And when does
McCaffrey,
McCaffrey get hurt?
exactly,
It's gonna happen.
So, just looking at it from the Bills' perspective, like, is there any reason, like, even if he's slightly banged up, to play Josh Allen on Sunday? Like, I know they want to keep winning and they want to make sure they get the number one seed over the Chiefs, but like, is the reward worth the risk? Maybe of potentially furthering, like making this injury worse, and then not having Allen for maybe not the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a very slippery slope because I mean, you do have a game lead over the Chiefs, I believe, in the AFC standings, but you have the head-to-head as well. This is a non-conference matchup. I mean, there's a lot of reasons you're at home. And here's the other thing. The Bills are still a good team, no matter if Josh Allen's at quarterback or not. Their defense has not allowed a team to crack 21 points all year, I believe. I think I heard that correctly. So yeah, I'm looking at it right now. The Dolphins scored 21 in week 3. That was it. So this is a very good defense. This is a hostile environment. Declan Goff of Score North brought this up the other day. A couple years ago, the Vikings go to Kansas City. They play the Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes. Matt Moore steps in. He nearly throws for 300 yards, and the Vikings lose. Vikings lost that game, and their chances to win the NFC North greatly diminished. That won't happen here. But again, if we're chasing home field, which should be the goal at this point, you're 7-1 and officially a big boy football team, according to your record. I don't care. Josh Allen, Case Keenum, Mickey Mouse, John Cena. I don't care who is playing quarterback. Get the win.
Yeah. If I was the Bills, I would sit him. I think like the rest of the team is talented enough they could even still beat the Vikings if Allen sits. And it's not like Case Keenum's a terrible backup. We know he's not. He can, if you give him, he can get the ball to Stephon Diggs. We know that. So I think they would be fine if Josh Allen doesn't play. They got the defense. They got Von Miller. He's still healthy. I don't know if Tre'Davious White is coming back yet. He's still on the fence, I think.
And even if he does, you're going to throw him against Justin Jefferson right away.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome back from injury.
Yeah.
Not easy again, bud.
No. Well, who's covering TJ Hawkinson? But yeah, so it's gonna be a tough matchup regardless. But yeah, all right. So there's some just in this matchup in general. There's some fun storylines going into this. If Case Keenum plays, it'll be Case Keenum and Stephon Diggs, the Minneapolis Miracle duo, facing the Vikings. We got Leslie Frazier facing his old team, where he was the head coach for for 3 years. You got Dalvin Cook versus younger brother James Cook. And then you got the battle of the 4-time Super Bowl losers. Only 2 teams in the NFL to go to 4 Super Bowls and lose all 4 of them. The Bills, of course, lost all of them in a row, so, that maybe that's more impressive or, least exciting. I don't know. But maybe which one of these storylines or another storyline is kinda maybe your favorite heading into this matchup on Sunday?
I think it's that it's I said it wasn't a litmus test, but it is in a way. Because I think that's the biggest storyline. It's can the Vikings like I'm not worried about the Bills. I'm not worried about I am worried about Stephon Diggs in the context of the matchup.
Mhm.
I'm more worried about the defense. I want to see how the Vikings do in a hostile setting against a team that is a true contender. Because we saw it against Philadelphia. I mean, that's what people want to point to, 24/7. And we've mentioned it on this show too. Irv Smith catches that touchdown. It's a much different game.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Bills are a team that is the caliber of a team that you would have to beat. And I mean, again, like I said, even if Case Keenum is playing, this team is good. This atmosphere is good. They've won 6 straight games at home. I think Sean McDermott's record after a loss is like 22-5 or something crazy like that. Like this is a good team no matter who is playing quarterback. And I hate to keep pounding that drum, but I want to see the Vikings go out and not piss down their leg on Sunday. Like
Yep.
it's not moral victory if they lose, but I mean, if they don't get clown hammered like they did against Philadelphia, I at least have some confidence in this team that they can go out and they can at least compete with some of the big boy teams because yeah, maybe there is a little doubt. Maybe there is a little bit of some of that because they have played backup quarterbacks all over the place and whatever. Although Andy Dalton seems to be the legit starter in New Orleans now, so we can wipe that off the list. But
I don't understand that. It's not like he's playing good or playing well.
it's not like they have their first round pick to tank.
No. So, yeah, that's weird. But yeah, yeah, it is a good test, and to their advantage, this game's at noon. Is in the daytime. It's not prime times. No shining lights. They don't even have the number one Fox broadcast team. I think that team's going to watch the Cowboys and Packers because that
Do
game's going to
you
be so much better.
did you watch the World Series, by the way?
I stopped watching after the Padres lost.
Because
Honestly.
they just absolutely just pounded the hell that they were getting Packers Cowboys in 2 weeks because they didn't have a national game last week because I think
Right.
either it was CBS's turn and they had the World Series, so they had to
Right.
kind of have all hands on deck for that. But it was just weird because they're like Cowboys,
Yeah.
Packers, history, and I'm like 3-7 or whatever it is. Like the
Yeah, but
Brewers have won a game more recently than the Packers, but
yeah,
nobody wants to mention that.
and the
But
Cowboys are coming off a bye, so like I, I don't understand.
and are
I'd
the
be shocked if
Cowboys
they lose.
good?
I think their defense is really good.
Okay.
And I think they got some playmakers on offense too. Like that's a team where I'm like I'm I think they're good, and I think that game, which I think is next week, um, will be maybe even a better litmus test for the Vikings because I think if they get through this one, they get through the next one, then you're gonna see some people like actually hopping on the bandwagon and being like, okay, all right, these guys, Max Kellerman's not gonna rank Kirk Cousins 16th behind Marcus Mariota uh in the quarterback. I was more mad about Marcus Mariota on the list. I don't know if you saw that list,
Did
but
did this just happen?
what?
His rankings, or was this like preseason?
Yesterday or 2 days ago, he posted like his top 16 quarterbacks in the league, and Kirk Cousins was 16th, and I think Marcus Mariota was 12th. And I was like,
Mm.
I'm more mad about Mariota being 12th than I am about Kirk Cousins being 16th. He also said Kirk Cousins needs to like lift a weight or get in better shape too after he's got like a 12 pack on the plane with his chains on. So I don't know. It's ESPN hot takery, I guess. He needs stuff to talk about. Uh,
The
these
Lakers
fan
aren't doing
bases.
well, so they need something. But
This fan base or these both of them, the Vikings fans and the Buffalo Bills fans have been through a lot in their lifetimes. Um, which one? This is hard. Might be hard to not be biased, but which one do you think has been more tortured over the
Oh, it's us. 100%, it's us. I don't know what it's like to be a Bills fan. I mean, I don't know. Like it's funny because I talked to Matthew Collar when they were going to the AFC Championship. I think it was a couple years ago, and I
Mhm.
asked him, I'm like, so grew up in Buffalo, you pretty excited. He's like, not really, it is what it is. I'm like, how in the hell is that possible? And
Mhm.
I admire Collar for it. I mean, I wish I could turn it off at times when I'm like writing articles and stuff, but I mean, like, just living through Vikings fan, I can't imagine another fan base suffering through more pain. Maybe if you're like the Browns and you just never go to the playoffs at all. Um, it's like, is it better to love or not to have loved at all?
Right.
Right. So like, getting on that and like I have never seen the Vikings in the Super Bowl. Bills fans have seen their team in 4 Super Bowls. Would you rather have seen your team in a Super Bowl during your lifetime, or would you rather just never get there?
I mean, what the last Super Bowl they were in was '93, so I was 6. So
Yeah,
I wasn't really gonna
still
remember that.
alive. It's like
I
it's like
was.
the Twins winning the World Series. I was off watching
Yeah,
Rugrats or
yeah,
something, but
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I would say the Vikings because just how close they've been. They've, like, had these magical regular seasons, and then they get in the playoffs, and they don't, like, lose by a lot. Well, I guess they did in 2017, but, like, they get so close, like, in '98, or they get so close in 2009, and they just get their heart ripped out, like, that's not how it was supposed to end, like, this team's supposed to be in the Super Bowl, the team that they were gonna play was gonna be easy to beat, and they were gonna win their Super Bowl, but it came up just short. I think the Bills also have an argument because their team missed the playoffs from 2000 to 2016. That's a
mhm.
long time, and to, like, just to even pretend to be motivated every year that, like, your team's gonna do anything after 5 years, I'd be like, "Okay, do I wanna do this again?" But they did it for a long time. The people that stuck with them are reaping the, rewards now because 'cause they're one of the best teams in the NFL, and that fan base is rabid, and they deserve all that stuff. But yeah, like, just based on the the I don't know, the pain, just it feeling like a Lombardi trophy is in the hands of the Vikings and just, like, slipping out of their hands more often than not has gotta be because when the Bills were in the Super Bowl, just the one against the Giants was really the close one, the wide right.
Yeah,
All the other
Scott
ones there,
Norwood
yeah, they were pretty much blown out.
annihilated.
So, yeah, it's hard to be like, "Oh, we almost won." No, you didn't. Um, so, yeah,
And
yeah.
too, I use like they've actually been in the Super like the Vikings got to the Super Bowl this year. I could say, oh, it's house money. We haven't been there in a long time, but I know if they're in that game, I'd be like, win it, dude,
Yeah,
win it.
yeah,
Like seriously, like
if you're in
the
it.
Vikings at one point in their history, I think watching Luke Braun's documentary, which you should if you haven't checked it out yet,
Mhm.
because it's tremendous. He mentioned that the Vikings have had I think it's just one Super Bowl in the fourth quarter where they were playing for a championship in 60 years of Vikings football.
Is it the Steelers one?
That was the Steelers one.
Yeah,
I think that was the first or second one.
yeah,
No, it was the second one. So the Chiefs was the first one. So
yeah. They were favored by a lot in that Chiefs game, but they
yeah, the
lost.
Chiefs had Gatorade and the Vikings didn't, I believe.
Oh, wow.
They invented Gatorade, and then Hank Stram, who, see, yeah, boys, get them,
The age of the no headsets, you just scream on the sideline at everybody. Speaking of the Super Bowl, is this a Super Bowl preview on
could
Sunday?
be. I hate giving that answer like it could be, but it could. I mean,
It's
well,
believable.
it's very believable. I mean, the Vikings. even if you don't believe they're a legit team, I mean, how long? It's like a heater at the blackjack table, basically. Like they're just hitting 21 every time, and eventually their luck will run out. But I
Maybe not.
mean, I could see him getting there. I mean, I still am on the belief that Philadelphia is not unbeatable.
No.
Like they're this unstoppable, just indestructible force that is just going to run through everybody.
I think they know that too.
Yeah, I think
I think their fan base knows that too.
I think they're wide open. I think the NFC is wide open.
Yeah.
Like, and especially if the Vikings, I mean, they're already going to get one home playoff game. If
Mhm.
they get the 2 seed, which I think they have a 2-game lead over Seattle right now, and I don't think Seattle's going to hang. I mean, look at the other 2 divisions. I mean, Seattle's 6-3, but I don't think they're going to keep playing like this.
No,
Uh,
they have tough like as bad as their division has played this year. It's still those division games are still tough. They still have to play like the Niners and stuff. So
and Tampa Bay plays in a weak division. I mean, you could easily see Tom Brady like undertake, but I mean, Chris Godwin doesn't look like himself.
yeah,
They don't
I
have
don't
8 receivers deep. I mean, what are they going to do? Call Gronk? Like,
like. Is that not the biggest like I don't know indicator that Bruce Arians is just a really good coach? Like with
yeah,
how bad that they're playing this year
at least
because he did really well with the Cardinals too back in the day.
he can manage bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, look at the last 2 years. I mean, the Bucks with all that attention and everything else, and like Antonio Brown walking off the field. I mean,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
he can do it. Bruce Arians is probably one of the best coaches of the past decade. He
Yeah.
got the freaking Cardinals to the Super Bowl.
Yep. With
Like,
what Carson Palm with Kurt Warner. No wait. No,
yeah,
he wasn't the coach when they went to the Super Bowl. Ken Wisenhunt was, but he got them to the NFC Championship. He wasn't. I know he wasn't.
I'm gonna look.
Ken Wisenhunt was the head coach.
Oh, I
But
think you're right.
but the Cardinals were good. I think they won a bunch of division titles with Carson Palmer as their quarterback. And then he went to the Bucks, and they were okay, but they did really good when Tom Brady went there. But now you look at them now, and to be fair, Tom Brady's going through a little bit of off the field stuff right now, so that's probably affecting his play a little bit.
You're
Um,
right. I'm thinking a little bit ahead of time.
but I also would say
2008.
I don't think Todd Bowles is that great of a head coach. He
No,
wasn't with the Jets, and he's not now. Some guys are
Vikings
just
sure dodged a bullet there too. Not to interrupt you, but
no,
I think about that a lot.
some guys are just good coordinators, and I don't think Todd Bowles is someone who's a good head coach. Yeah, but right now the Bills currently have the best Super Bowl odds according to FanDuel at plus 330, and the Vikings have the 7th best odds at plus 1600. And I believe they also have the 4th best Super Bowl odds in the NFC behind the Eagles, 49ers, and Cowboys. I don't understand this obsession with the 49ers. I really don't. Yeah, I don't know. All right, so the Vikings take on the Bills on Sunday. The Bills are currently favored by 3.5. Now, this is important to note too. This line dropped to 3.5 yesterday after it opened on Sunday, with some sports books having the Bills favored by 9 points. So it's almost dropped 6 points. So that would be that feels to me like they don't think Josh Allen's going to play. And then the over/under is 43.5 points. The current weather report, which I didn't think it was going to matter, but apparently it might, for Sunday in Buffalo, mid-30s with a 40% chance of snow with winds around 13 miles per hour. So we could have a snow game on Sunday in Buffalo. Do you do the all white if that happens if you're the Vikings, or you do the purple pants because you don't want to get lost in the snow?
That's a great question. I guess I never thought of that.
Because I guess on defense it could be an advantage, but like, on offense you don't want Kirk Cousins being like, "Where is everybody?" Like you can't see
Camo.
anybody. But the Vikings will win on Sunday if what happens?
If they establish the run.
Yeah.
Not to sound like Mike Zimmer, but you mentioned the weather report. I mean, those things seem like they play into the Vikings' hands in this game. If Josh Allen doesn't play, if there's a little bit of snow, maybe some subpar conditions, the Vikings did not do a good job establishing the run last week. And I think that was kind of expected because Washington's front seven is pretty
Yep.
good.
Yep.
Buffalo started out the year pretty good in rushing defense. Let's see, I'm counting right here. 5 of their first 6 games, they held opponents under 100 yards rushing. The last 2 games, the Packers got 208 yards rushing and the Jets had 174. You know what sorry, my phone's going off here because people don't understand that I do this. You know what the Packers and Jets have in common?
They're both green.
Sean McVay inspired schemes,
Oh
right?
yeah,
They run
yeah,
the
yep,
zone scheme.
yep, yep.
So if the Vikings can get their offensive line fixed, because I mean, do you really want Kirk dropping back to pass with Von Miller on the other
No,
side?
no, no.
Like, and they're not going to have him go up against Christian Darrisaw every play. They're going to send him at Garrett Bradbury, Ezra Cleveland, and Ed
Ed
Ingram.
Ingram. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you play to your strengths here. You establish Dalvin Cook. And especially if it's a snow game, I think you lean on the ground game in this game. So I think that's how the Vikings will win if they can get Dalvin Cook going.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Alexander Madison kind of got a little more play too, because just kind of use that his. I guess he's a more powerful runner than Dalvin Cook. Dalvin has power, but not like Madison. But yeah, they got to run the ball. It's the Bills have shown a weakness the last 2 weeks that they're having trouble stopping the run. Now, and the Jets, like, they lost their starting running back, Breece Hall, like, a couple weeks ago. So it's not like they had what they have, like, Andre Carter as like their starting running back. So I think I would say Dalvin Cook's probably better than he is.
Mm-hmm.
And the Vikings offensive line has been really good at run blocking this year. So yeah, establishing that run, I think, as always, pressure the quarterback more so now. If Case Keenum is in there, we know that if he gets a little pressure, that he can get pretty flustered back there in the pocket. Daniel Hunter seems like he's starting to pick up this defense and figure out what he can do and how he can be good in this defense. So that's good news for the Vikings because we already know Zadarius Smith's going to just go crazy like he did. He's gone all year pretty much. So that's good. I think Dalvin Tomlinson's still questionable with his calf injury. I know he didn't practice yesterday, so it seems like might get. But the guys who filled in for him last week did well as well. Tonga and Chris, or yeah, is it Bullard? Jonathan Bullard? Yeah, he's in there. So yeah, establish the run, get pressure, and just don't shoot yourself in the foot. Like I think the Commanders did that last week when they could have won if they didn't have like couple penalties. Especially on the road, you cannot do that. You got to play. You got to be disciplined, and it sounds so cliche and simple, but just you got to be smart. And I think that's one thing the Vikings have done well this year. They've played smart football. They haven't really hurt themselves. They've let other teams, do that to their own selves, and it's worked out in their favor. The Vikings will lose on Sunday if what?
I think they'll lose if the offensive line doesn't hold their water.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a lot about the offensive line because, I mean, you got Von Miller there, you got Ed Oliver there, you got big, beefy men in the middle of that defensive line. I mean, I have loved what Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill have done so far this year, but the interior of that line is a crapshoot. Last week, it was Ezra Cleveland being the worst offensive lineman, regardless of position, in football last week. I think only Scott Quisenberry had a worst overall ranking in PFF.
Yeah.
That's not good.
No.
And then, Bradbury has been okay. I mean, I've been willing to give him a pass. Don't sign him to a contract or anything, but I mean,
And
he's got fine.
He's got an ankle injury right now too. He didn't practice yesterday.
And we've seen Ed Ingram a little bit, who's had a couple of Keystone Cops moments in the trenches.
Yeah.
I mean, this passing attack definitely concerns me a little bit. I mean, they got to try it. I mean, you can't just run the ball 90 times. I mean, that would be a Mike Zimmer dream, but I think if the offensive line is able to slow down the Buffalo defensive front, I think that the Vikings You asked me lose, so I mean, flip that around. If the offensive line doesn't hold its water, I think this is going to be a loss. It's a tough game. It's a
Uh-huh.
tough game.
There's a couple things. I think Stefan Diggs is going to be a little motivated for Sunday because
It it is weird when you think about it though, because the people he was mad at are like fired.
they're gone. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like Kirk Cousins said yesterday, like he told me it wasn't my fault, which I was kind of surprised. I've always thought
Yeah.
like there was a little bit of like Kirk Cousins, but it seems pretty clear that he wasn't the guy or a reason why Stefan
And
Diggs
he
wanted out.
likes Jefferson too. I think those two
Yeah.
are pretty tight.
But
So
still, it's your old team. Things didn't work out. He sees things on social media of like even in the past of fans being like, "Oh, Jefferson's way better than Diggs now, anyway."
yeah.
So these are receivers. They want to be the best in the league, no matter what. Um, that's a matchup we didn't even talk about, like Jefferson and Diggs. It's not that they go against each other, but like just the head to head. But I think he's going to be motivated. We've seen former Vikings in the past be super motivated to play against the Vikings. Percy Harvin comes to mind. Uh, Being with the Seahawks and playing one game during the regular season, which just happened to be against the Vikings, and he went off in that game. So I would say that he's going to be extra motivated. So stopping him seems like a priority. Especially because I think Cam Dantzler is injured. So who are you going to put on him? I know Caleb Evans did good last week against the Commanders. Do you put Peterson on him? Do you put a safety on him as well? Then you got Gabe Davis to worry about, who is able to get behind the defense. So you got to worry about that. Make sure your communication's on point. So stop Diggs. He's regardless of who plays a quarterback, he's gonna be able to make plays. We know that. So you gotta stop him. The Vikings need to stop the run. The Bills have the sixth best rushing offense in the NFL this year. Of course, Josh Allen has a lot to do with that. So if he doesn't play, then that's might be different. And lastly, Greg Joseph, you gotta make your kicks. Like this is gonna be a
Mhm.
game where points are probably not gonna be easy to come by. So any chance that the Vikings get to, get some points on the board, whether it be field goal or touchdown, they need to do that. They can't be leaving points on the board like the Packers against the Lions because they were within the in the 10-yard line 3 times last week, and Rodgers threw interceptions. So Greg Joseph has been good on the road this year. I don't think he's missed a kick on the road. Um, but like I mentioned, the winds are going to be 13 miles an hour, so could be
Can I
different.
toss out one more thing that I
Yeah,
just kind of thought of?
yeah,
Just looking around on PFF stats here. The Buffalo offensive line is kind of mediocre because
yeah,
their pass blocking grade is a 64. That's 17th in the NFL, and their run blocking grade is 25th at 55.4. This defensive front for the Vikings has been gelling,
yeah,
so to speak. I know they'll be without Dalvin Tomlinson. That hurts a little bit. But I mean, Zadarius Smith has been balling all year.
yeah.
Daniil Hunter had a couple of sacks. This could be a game where, especially again, if Josh Allen does not play, that could play into the advantage of the Vikings. I'm not going to sit here and predict a win just because I think the Bills are just too good overall. But it's a really interesting game. I was saying this I think last week that I always get excited to watch the Vikings play most weeks. But I
Uh-huh.
mean, this week or this year, there's just anticipation for
Mm-hmm.
every Sunday because I don't know if it's because there's something new, if there's something different, like you want to see the next step in their
Let's see if they can keep it
development, like
going.
see what the next chapter is. It's like it's like a, you're a wrestling fan, obviously. It's like a good
Hmm.
storyline.
Hmm.
Like when you have promo after promo and you get involved, you want to see the blow off. And I mean, we're getting plenty of like tidbits and little pieces here, just having this conversation where I'm excited for kickoff at noon. I mean, Kirk Cousins, Sunday afternoon at noon. I mean, they're probably looking at the schedule going, "Oh shit."
If they win, are we going to see like 20 chains on Kirk Cousins on the playing back? Is he going to be is he going to have any clothes on? Like what? I think
He's
he
just going
said
to
he
be
was.
standing on top of the plane
I
wearing
think he
his
said he was
chains.
a little worried, like where this might be headed. He doesn't even know what's up. Like, I think you gotta go. You gotta get a grill next to if that's the next step in the process. All
I
right,
think
final
Z said
score.
they were crowdfunding to get him his own chain now.
They are.
But
They are. They're working on that for a Christmas present. So I'm curious
yeah.
to see what they put on that because if they're gonna it's gonna be like Kirko or something. Final score prediction. What do you got?
um
Over under is 43 and a half.
yeah. I mean, Luke Braun said 23-20 Bills this morning. And I think I like that. So I'm gonna go 23-20 Bills.
All right. I did some bold predictions. Went down. I copied your
You didn't
weekly.
steal my thunder, did you?
No, I did not for this week. I
This
did
is
them
like the
for
Catalina wine mixer.
I did them for the rest of the
Don't mess my
season.
nut.
During the bye week, I did like the rest of some predictions for the rest of the year, and I predicted the Vikings to beat the Bills in this game before even knowing if Josh Allen was healthy or not. So I'm going to stick with that, and I'm going to predict the Vikings to win 17-13. I think the weather will be a factor. I think the defenses will be a factor. So I think it's going to be. I think there'll be some turnovers in there, but I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I don't think. Maybe it could, but I don't think so. So 17-13 Vikings. That's what I got. We'll be back on Monday, hopefully talking about the Vikings, which would be what is it? Would this be sixth or
Seventh.
This would be seventh straight win.
Yeah, 7
if they
straight
win.
wins.
So hopefully we'll be talking about that. But until next time, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, like this video if you're watching on YouTube, follow the Viking Age on Twitter and Facebook, and the audio version of this podcast will be available probably by the morning on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts. But until next time on Monday, Chris and I will talk to you later.